Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 3 o'clock, and I believe time to get started with our annual meeting today. I want to welcome all of you. This is our 9th annual Registrar meeting. My name is Angela Young. I serve as the Registrar here for the university, and each fall semester we like to take the opportunity to host this meeting for the university community to provide important updates and new information that could impact the work that you're doing at the university. So this is the first year that we're doing this meeting solely as a webinar. So while we do claim to be experts in the work that we do in the registrar's office, we clearly recognize that we're at the novice level when it comes to hosting a webinar. So please bear with us today if we hit any unexpected snags. Our plan is to offer you the opportunity to use the question and answer feature within the webinar to submit any questions that you have, and you could submit at any time throughout. We will be monitoring those questions and we'll pause periodically throughout to provide some answers and discussions on the things that you bring up, and we will leave plenty of time at the conclusion to address any remaining questions. The webinar is being recorded, so we will place the recording of this webinar on our website. It'll be on the same page from which you access the webinar from the Office of the Registrar website. You may have noticed when you came in that there's links on that page from previous annual meeting PowerPoint presentations, and this webinar link will be placed right there with all of those others. All right. Here we go. So the topics that we are going to be covering in the webinar are listed on the slide on your screen. We do have a panel with us today made up of the associate registrars within the office who oversee many of the processes that are under our purview. We have our business processing and reporting analyst who works with the data report requests that come into the office. And we also have our coordinators in the office on this panel who oversee those larger processes that we have, for instance, like grading and graduation. Here is an overview of the team that we have in place here in the Office of the Registrar. These are the people who make the magic happen. If you'd like to learn more about this really great team of folks, please visit our staff listing page on our website for more information about their positions and how to contact them. Today we have Shannon Holt and Nathan Hoff and Katrina Chavez and Jeannie Lindeman presenting today. And Rebecca Harbaugh will be monitoring the submitted questions via the question answer feature throughout, and she'll also moderate those questions, bring those forward. So please feel free to post your questions as we go. Rebecca will be viewing and incorporating them throughout. Before we completely get started and kick off all the presentations, I would like to just briefly mention a few highlights from the past year. We have worked with MIS this year to get an updated registration system in place, and Shannon Holt is going to be providing more information on that and a demonstration, so I won't go into any more details there. Many of the systems that we work with here in the Office of the Registrar have ongoing upgrades. So a few to highlight this year, we've had 2 version upgrades with DegreeWorks. DegreeWorks is that system that houses our degree audit system. We've upgraded to a new version of College Scheduler, which is used by our students and many in our advising community. We're implementing the use of dynamic forms in our office. We're just getting started on this, and we hope that that it's going to be a great tool that we can provide for students, staff, faculty, everyone, to provide some better service. And we're currently working with our National Student Clearinghouse as they are getting ready to provide us with an upgrade for their platform that they use. So lots of things always happening with the pieces that we work with here. Also, in this past year, the Registrar office has been moved within the organizational structure of the university. Previously, we were under Student Affairs, but we have recently been moved as part of the Enrollment Services Unit, and we are now under the Executive Vice President. Also, a new piece that is available this year. You may recall that in fall of 21, we began offering digital diplomas for all of our graduating students. And over the last year, we've been able to work with Parchment to begin offering a new product. And we are now able to offer digital diplomas to any alumni who graduated with a degree prior to fall 21. So if you graduated before those digital diplomas were an option, you now can go in and order one to have a digital one for yourself. Okay, at this time, I think we're ready to get started. I'm going to hand off the presenter role to Shannon Holt. She's our Associate Registrar for Records and Registration, and she's going to share with us about our new registration system.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure most of you are very aware that we have a new registration system here on campus. We went live with it in May of this year. We decided we wanted to make sure that we got it out there for our new students who are going through orientation during the summer, and wanted them to have the same system their first time they registered as they would have whenever they started registering by themselves for the first time in the fall. So the good news is a lot of students have already used this because it is in place, but we wanted to give you all a closer look at it as we head toward the fall or the spring, I guess, registration sequence coming at the end of October. So I will be working in the test portal today. I'm hoping you all are seeing that screen here, my Missouri State screen. If you see anything with classes or anything that just looks a little odd, just know that it's in the test system, and that's why. It's not necessarily an exact replica of what you look at and work with every day. So students are going to access this system through the registration tab. They have an add, drop, or search for classes link. And when they click on that, they're going to be taken to this landing page unless they are a student who has not yet signed their enrollment agreement, in which case they'll first be directed to sign that enrollment agreement before they're able to continue on into the registration system. The landing page has multiple options for students. They can add or drop classes, just search for classes, browse the course catalog for course descriptions, or look at their registration history and old class schedules. I think the add or drop classes is probably the piece that is most interesting to all of you and to students as well. So we'll go ahead and click on that. I have a unique role at the university in that I have a variety of roles, I guess. I have been a student, I work in the registrar's office, I have a faculty advisor and faculty and advisor role. Most people will not see this page whenever they click on links, but for any of you who do have multiple roles at the university, you may see this page, so I did just want to share it with you. The only role you would really ever need to select is student, because anything that faculty and advisors have access to is actually public information, so you shouldn't need to select one of those roles. If you're trying to take an action on your own account, you always want to select the student role. Students will not see that page unless they happen to work in our office or another similar office where they do have additional access to systems. So they will just automatically be taken into this page here. So I'm going to select a term to register for and click continue. And I'll be taken into the class schedule search. So what we can do here is we can search by pretty much all of the same criteria that you could search before. We did make one change, which is that we made all of the search criteria available initially, rather than having students have to click another layer in to be able to search by anything other than subject and course number. Students can leave the subject blank if they want to select all subjects and search for all subjects, and that is the case for any of these fields. If it's left blank, all of the items in that dropdown will be selected and searched on. They can scroll through the list if they want to search just to look through and see what there is. If there's a specific subject that they know that they want to search for, they can type that in. I'm going to type religious studies, and it'll come up as I type the letters. And there's a variety of of items here that you can search by. I'm going to go ahead and click search and see my search results. There's a lot of information on this page. Any column where you feel like information is cut off, if you hover over it, it's going to give you the additional information that you're not seeing. So I can see all the class information, the title, the instructor, all of that information is here. If I want to really dig into the details on a course, I can click on the title of the course and it's going to pull up a lot of information for me there. Once I've found the course that I want to add, I can click the add button and it's going to pull it into my summary panel down here. And it should also pull it into my schedule tentatively on the side over here as well. I can search again to find another class. And I'm going to search for a class that has both a lecture and a lab, so I can kind of show you a unique feature that is new with this new system. So if you search for a class that has both a lecture and a lab, it's now going to show that that course is linked. So it's immediately obvious to the student that they need to have more than one section of that course in order to register. I can actually click this view linked button and it's going to give me all of the combinations that I can take of this particular course. And once I've found the one that I want to add, I can click this add all button and it's going to add both the lecture and the lab to my summary down here. I can click back to search results and see the full results again after that. Or I can, search again if I'd like to do that. There are other options for how students can add classes as well. Students can add by CRN if they've been given a list of CRNs by their advisor, they just happen to know that information. So they can just type that in and click add to summary, and that will add the course to their summary down here. They can also add through this plans tab. So if a student has used the trial schedule builder and sent a trial schedule to their shopping cart, they will see all of those classes in this plans tab once they've sent it to their shopping cart, and they can add them to their summary from there. So I'm just going to add one of these courses right now. And once all of the classes that they wish to add are in their summary, they can click submit and it's going to process. And it takes a little bit longer in tests because we're in the test system here. But it will not be this slow in production. And at that point, they will either get a message on each class that says registered, as you can see on most of my classes here, or they will get an error message that says errors preventing registration, and they'll be able to see each of the individual error messages for their course here up in the top. If I just have decided I don't want to take this course, I can just click submit again, and it's going to remove that course from my my schedule, I guess, my summary. It's really important in this new system, if you're working with students, that you make sure that they're very aware of this status. I'm working on my small laptop screen here, so everything looks a little bit smaller than it might normally, but I'm going to expand this so we can see a little bit better. If I happen to decide I want to drop this course, so I select the action of drop class with 100% refund. If I don't click submit, I have not dropped that course. And I can see where this could be confusing for students. So we really need to stress to them that their status in that course is what's most important and what reflects their actual standing in the course right now. So if a student goes out, and even if they've selected that action, that does not mean that they have dropped that class. You can see, I'm going to make this bigger as well. You can see on my schedule over here, it's going to give you kind of a grid view of what my schedule would look like for the week. Many of you are probably aware that this is not an exact replica of the week at a glance schedule that we had previously. So we have made the week at a glance schedule available to students again, because we know that's very important for them to be able to know where they need to be every week of the semester, especially when it comes to first and second block classes, knowing when they need to show up for that class. You can click to view schedule details here, and you'll be able to see all the details for every individual class. And if I click up here on schedule and options, no, I do not want to save those changes. I'll be able to see my schedule, kind of a concise view of my schedule here as well. And I'll be able to print that and send that to myself via email. I will go back out briefly to this main landing page here. In addition to the add or drop classes, students have access to the active registration and history link, where they will be able to view past schedules. The concise schedule information would be at the top, and then the kind of grid view and the detail scheduler at the bottom. I can look at any of my past schedules since fall of 2009 in here and see all those details. So this is the replacement for the active registrations and registration history page that students had previously. Active registrations is going to show classes that I'm currently registered for that have not yet been graded. The search for classes is an exact replica of the search that I showed you on the add or drop classes page. The only difference is that once I find my search results, I cannot add classes from here. So it's really just a view, not necessarily an action, a place where I would take action. And then the browse course catalog is just where we can pull information about courses from the catalog directly. So you would be able to select the catalog that you're interested in and then search for your course from there. And it's going to give you information on those courses specifically rather than sections. I think at this point, I'm going to have Angela start sharing the slideshow again, and I can share some resources that we have out there available. So we have both some written documentation as well as a couple videos that are pretty new. So this is probably the first time that you're hearing about them. We have created both just a basic how to search and register for classes video, as well as one about how to use the trial schedule builder. And it includes specifically how it looks whenever students are moving their classes from trial schedule builder into the new registration system and the steps that they need to take to get registered, because it's a little bit different than it was previously. So those videos are out there on our YouTube site. They're also linked here on this slide, and you'll be able to see the slideshow once we post that. And then we also have those posted on our website as well. The other two pieces of documentation are on the knowledge base. So you can just go out on the knowledge base and search for how to register, and those will come up for you. I think now we're ready for questions. I'm guessing we may have one or two.
Hi, yes, you do. You have two questions.
Okay.
First question is, will staff and faculty have access to the student role so they can see what the student sees?
They will not at this point in time. So I would recommend going out and viewing those videos that I created, because that will give you at least a visual of what it looks like from the student perspective. I know that is something that is really frustrating whenever you don't have a student role and you can't see exactly what the students are doing. So it's something that we would like to be able to do in the future. I just don't know technically if we will be able to.
And your second question is, when I look at add or drop classes, it only gives me the option to view fall 2022. Is there
Yes.
I can't view or select spring 2023?
That is because registration is not open yet for spring 2023. I went in and specifically changed settings in the test system so that I could do that. for today, but yes, so you will be able to view the class schedule search prior to the registration sequence beginning, but you will not be able to click on the add or drop classes link. So that is a good question, and that is why it looks that way.
Okay, that's all the questions at this time.
Awesome. Well, if anybody has any further questions about it moving forward, you can always email me. I'm happy to help answer those questions as best I can. Or just email our office, call our office, and we are always happy to help. I know, I'll just mention that I know this is our first major registration cycle using this new system. I fully expect there to be a couple of bumps in the road. We're happy to hear about any issues that come up and try to work with the vendor that creates the product to see if we can figure out ways to solve those, or creative ways internally that we can make the system work better. So please always let us know if there's things that you're seeing that you think we should know about and try to improve. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan Hoff, Associate Registrar for Degree Programs and Advisement Support, and he is going to talk to you about DegreeWorks Transfer Equivalency Self-Service.
Thanks, Shannon. Good afternoon. This is a component of DegreeWorks, our third component after the degree audit and trial schedule builder. This one is a little bit different than some of the pieces that we've used in the past, and that this is a piece that is aimed at prospective students or users that are not part of the MSU community necessarily yet. This is a module where students would be able to self-report transfer work or exams such as AP, IB, and CLEP, and get an unofficial degree audit based on what they've reported. So we think there are a lot of potential users for this. This could be a student who is just unhappy at their current institution and is looking to maybe transfer to us. This could be a student who plans to come to us for 2 years from now. They're a freshman at OTC right now, and they plan to come here starting their junior year and want to just kind of chart along their progress at MSU as they take classes at OTC. This could be high school students who have dual credit and want to see how that would apply to Missouri State requirements, or the counselors that may be assisting them to figure out how courses work from Missouri State. So what we are going to do next is a demo. Right as I get ready to share that demo, a couple of disclaimers that I'll give you. This product is still in testing and development, so the final result may look a little bit different than what you see today, but you'll get the general idea. And this would be available not through My Missouri State, but rather a web page that folks could access, since they wouldn't be students yet, where they would be guided through first the things that they need to use the system, which are the transfer work and test scores that they have. And there will be documentation provided, both detailed for users here on campus, but also a short worksheet that would be available to the user to guide them through answering the questions. So without further ado, I am going to pull up our demo here. And I think I've got the wrong one. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is transfer equivalency self-service. As you see on the screen, this is a landing page where the user will have one of two items that they can do. They can use this anonymously without needing to create an account, or they have the option to create an account, which allows them to enter their work and save it. As we first start the demo today, I'm going to use it anonymously and then switch to an account here in a few moments. And this is just because I've had the test system open for a few minutes. Doesn't usually do that. Okay, so the first question that you answer is what semester you plan on coming to Missouri State. Then, because graduate credits are stored differently in our system, this is only available for undergraduate programs, so the user is guided to pick undergraduate. They then have the option of picking the major that they would like to pursue. So they can pick this from a list. So I'm going to pick this design, graphic design and illustration, Bachelor of Fine Arts. And as the question told me to, I want to pay attention to this degree abbreviation that follows, as it kind of guides my other choices. Since I selected a major that is associated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, I want to pick Bachelor of Fine Arts on this question. And then I want to pick a minor that is also available in a Bachelor of Fine Arts format. Those are all the questions that I have to answer in order to get started using this. Next is where I can begin to enter my course and exam information. Just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to go back and log in with an account that already has some course information entered on it. So what you do is you click this button, and then you are taken to a list of all the available schools that are in our transfer equivalency system. I'm going to enter an example class from Ozark Technical Community College. So I'm going to start to type the name of the school, which will drill down my choices. That will then bring me to OTC's classes. I'm going to start to type some letters to drill down my choice, which I can do both by title of the course. I can also do it by the course prefix and number. I'm going to pick this History 120 course. And I select the term that I took the course. Let's say I took it in fall 20, and it was a 3-credit class. And I got an A in this course. And it was a semester system, which is what the majority of institutions are. I enter this course and I hit proceed. And when I do that, it adds the course over to my list on the right. So this is also populated with some other courses that I've already saved to this account. I can continue adding courses, and that includes exams such as Advanced Placement, CLEP, and IB. And then I go to review my degree audit. You'll notice this degree audit looks a little bit different than the interactive version that we have here on campus. But all the same principles apply in terms of how it displays courses and towards requirements. This upper section will show the items that the user selected in the questions at the beginning, such as the semester of entry and the majors and minors and degrees they want. It'll show their progress towards completing the degree audit, show the course equivalencies that were granted. Then you'll see those courses used within the degree audit, how they apply to the various requirements that the student has. Then as we scroll down to the bottom, there's a couple things that are not part of a typical degree audit. One of them is a course equivalency section that shows the user how all of their entered coursework was equated here at the university. For example, this person took a CLEP exam, did the German language exam, received a score of 60 on it. They received 9 credits at MSU, German 101, 102, and 201. So this allows the user to see that equivalency information right there in the degree audit. It also contains a next step section that lets the user take various actions, such as I can request more information about the university. I can go apply for admission, and several other items that the student may be interested in. So at that point, if you'll take the demo back to the PowerPoint. So kind of next steps for this, we're finalizing and doing a lot of user testing right now. Starting this week, we've started showing this to students and advisors, having them actually use it and observe them using the tool and seeing what we should do different in our instructions and those kinds of things. We'll be figuring out, this is a little different than a normal degree audit unit in terms of a lot of times we implement something new, we roll it out, we're ready to go. This is a piece that will involve a lot of the university, those that work with transfer students, those that work with dual credit students. So we'll be meeting with a lot of different populations, many of you who may be on this call today, to talk about how do we market this to the different populations that can use this. And from that point, establish when we're ready as a university to put this live out to students. We think this will be a really helpful tool to a lot of folks. So we're excited to progress with it and show you more here in the coming months. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. And I'd be glad to take any questions that have been submitted.
We have a couple of questions. The first is, can the prospective student select Core 42, or will this default to the MSU General Education curriculum?
That is an excellent question, and I'm happy to report they will be able to select. It's in the instructions, and I didn't demo it today, but basically it will default to general education, but the worksheet instructions will guide the students to how to enter. It's a fake course essentially, but when they enter that course as part of their evaluation, it will cause the degree audit that is generated to flip to Core 42 instead. So the student will be able to go back and forth by entering or taking that fake course off of their entered coursework.
Okay. If the degree program has courses that have to be entered manually as an exception, how will those degree programs work with this system?
That's really something that comes on more as later on when you're a student in terms of entering exceptions. This is just basically saying this is what the student has already done up to this point and plugging that into an audit and showing where those courses automatically fit. For things like a program that has advisor approved courses or things like that, of course, the department will ultimately have to enter those and approve those items formally once the student is here. But this is just kind of a starting point based on you're not here yet, but this is how your courses would plug in.
Okay. And I guess more of a comment, it sounds like this would save a lot of time, administrative work, compared to developing 2+2 pathways. So hoping that this is being shared with the appropriate folks.
It is, and we could also potentially see this being a partner tool to those that work on those 2+2 plans. For example, you build a 2+2 plan and you want to test out how that looks on a degree audit after you build it and make sure that it, plugs in the requirements that we hope it does. This would maybe be a tool that could be used to test those out.
Okay, and no more questions, just a big thumbs up for this equivalency and its potential uses. Thanks.
And with that, we will flip next to Katrina Chavez, who is our Associate Registrar for Course and Curriculum Management.
Thank you, Nathan. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to kick things off with just a few reminders about waitlisting. I know there's a lot of conversations right now about enrollment management and what that looks like and getting information about our classes and how many students are taking which classes, what classes they want, all that kind of stuff. So just a reminder, waitlisting is available for your full term and first block sections. It's a really great tool that you can use to either determine which section of a course, if you're offering multiple sections, which particular section might be of more interest to students, like maybe a particular time slot or a day, a specific day combination, or simply to figure out the demand for a particular course. You're offering one section, you're not sure exactly how many other students might be interested. So you add that wait list on to kind of get that interest gauge. So you can figure out if a second section needs to work or maybe one with more seats, that kind of thing. You can add a wait list to the sections at any time before the term begins. So this isn't something you have to decide right now. If, when registration goes live in October for students to start registering, you could add it then, you could add it in November, you can add it at any point before the term begins. The other thing that I really want to make sure people know, department specifically, is that you can reorder the wait list. And I think this is an important tool to use if you have students who you're trying to help graduate, to make sure that they're getting a class, they have that one or two last classes, and maybe they got off the sequence or something like that. You have the ability and the authority to reorder the wait list if necessary. Please keep in mind that the new registration system does tell students what number They are out of how many waitlisted students, so they can see that information, but that shouldn't stop you from reordering it, if you all deem that's necessary for a particular student. You can also run reports to keep track of your wait lists. There's a report in Argos called Waitlisted Students by Section, and is under the campus-wide student folder. So all departmental staff and advisors should have access to that. If you don't and you need access, just email me and we can work through how to get you that. That particular report will keep track of which sections have the wait lists that students have waitlisted and who those students are, with some specific student characteristics that might help you. So it might show that a student who is waitlisted for the class is a senior, what their major is. I believe it has some GPA information for those particular students as well. So if you're wanting to keep an eye on your wait list and see which students are waitlisting, or if a student has waitlisted, you can use that report to track that information. Just a reminder, waitlisting is open until Wednesday of the first week of classes. So that means students can add themselves to a wait list that has an open seat until that Wednesday. On Thursday, I pull that report that I just talked about and send that to all departments, just to make sure that you all know who was left on the wait list, which sections had students remaining on the wait list, and give you some options on providing seats for those students if that's appropriate. On Friday, we run a process here in our office that will remove all wait lists from all of your sections. So it will set that maximum enrollment to 0, and it will also administratively move students from the wait list who were left on there. The students who waitlisted didn't get a seat are still on the wait list. We remove it from their registration, so they will no longer see that on Friday. At that point, as seats become open in your classes, they are first come, first serve to the students who are eligible to register for that class. If you are using waitlisting and you have 10 students waitlisted and you wish to open a new section and make sure that those waitlisted students have an opportunity to get into that newly opened section, you will build that section with permission, give those students a permission override, communicate with the students, and then that will allow them to get the first opportunity at those seats. If you need help with that, you can contact my office and we can walk you through that, those steps when you're working with that situation. Okay, I think I'm ready for the next slide. The next thing I wanted to talk about was our curriculum and catalog solution initiative that we have been working on. We have been working to research possible solutions for our processes and software that we currently have. Those of you that work in the curriculum process know that system can be a little difficult to work with. It is out of date. It is using technology that we are not really able to support. Our MIS and web services teams spend a lot of time trying to support those systems, and it leaves us without the ability to make any really good improvements, both for things when they actually break, trying to make sure that the system actually works, but also it really limits our ability to be creative, kind of think outside the box, change things, reformat something in the catalog, create new workflows for curriculum, that kind of thing. So we are researching products and working with Faculty Senate and Office of the Provost with that, with this initiative to make sure that we get everybody's needs covered, but primarily to find a system that is built for these things. The systems that we use now are not really built for curriculum or built for catalog publication. And so looking at the software that are designed specifically for that, making sure that we can decrease the significant resource ask for our MIS and web strategy teams. So we will be continuing those conversations with Faculty Senate, Office of the Provost, other constituents, and we are looking forward to continuing that work for this initiative. That is all I have today. I am going to pass it over to Jeannie, our business process and reporting analyst, and she's going to talk through the data request form and a few revisions that have taken place there.
Hi, good afternoon. Like Katrina said, I'm going to be talking about data requests, and data is near and dear to my heart. It's what I deal in all day, every day. I'm a little more behind the scenes than some of the other members of our team. And as far as requesting data, often either faculty or staff will need specific information for a specific reason. And what we ask is that you use the official data request form. It helps us keep track of things. And also there is a small group of people that we all work on these requests, and they get assigned via this access form. And just like I said, it helps us keep it all straight as far as what's going on. We do get a lot of requests. So from the registrar page, there's the way you get to it is from the faculty and staff section. And then within the faculty and staff section is getting data. And sometimes you have to scroll down the page to see that. And then within getting data, there's a couple different ways you can get to the form. And it's the same form no matter which path you take, just up to your preference to get to the actual request form. Recently, this form has been updated, and if you've used it before, you may notice that it looks a little different than what we had up until just a couple months ago. But it will be collecting the same information, and it's actually quite easy to fill out. It puts in your name and your email address, so it spares you having to do that little tedious task. And if you are filling it out for someone else, it's very helpful if you enter that information in that first field there and just follow through answering the questions. The number 3 and 4 questions are very important at this end. It's describing the question you're trying to answer. You could be you need to know all students in a specific major that are currently enrolled. And then for the section 4, it might be which fields are important for you to see on the report. If it's what type of demographic information, or just whatever it is that you need, you can put it in this, and it'll help get the ball rolling as far as what we need to provide. Following through the screen, again, it's just pretty easy. Just follow through. Depending on what you'll be using the information for, there may have to be IRB approval. If you've worked with someone previously, like I know I've spoken with someone before and told them they can just, when they fill out the form, have it assigned to me. And that's what you can do on number 8. If you've spoken directly with someone and that's who it needs to go to. Otherwise, you can leave that blank and it'll get assigned out appropriately based on who it seems like could do the best job for this particular request. And you can go to the next slide. And then this last one is just kind of some to make sure that you understand all the FERPA policy, and just that we'll take care of the student data, because we are dealing with important information here, and so we want to make sure that we all agree to follow the university rules. And that is all as far as the data request form, but I really appreciate when everyone does fill that out. It is very helpful to me. I have been known to use it to go back and look at something that has been completed, or find something that should have been completed and possibly was missed. And it's just very, very helpful to fill that out. So thank you. And now it goes back to Angela. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeannie. There's a few pieces here that we always like to cover at the end of these annual meetings, just kind of get it in front of you and keep it fresh on your brains. We have on this first slide here, there's a list of topics and processes that we directly oversee here in the office, and we are always able and glad to provide our expertise and our experience on these types of topics. Anytime that you have questions revolving around any of this, feel free to give us a call or an email, or stop by. We're also glad to see you in person as well. And we have another list here of topics where we are always glad to get questions and help provide as much guidance as we can. These are some widely used systems across the university, and we have listed out here next to them the areas on campus that have oversight of them and the most expertise in that area. So like I said, always feel free to reach out to us anytime with questions. And if it happens to land in an area like what is mentioned on this slide, if it's out of our purview, out of our expertise, we will gladly connect you with the right people who can give you the best information. So those are just some housekeeping pieces there. So at this time, I'm going to ask our panel to turn their cameras on, and we are going to open up for some questions. Please feel free to begin posting, if you haven't already, your questions using the question and answer link. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can see everyone all at the same time, and we'll check in with Rebecca and see what we've got.
We don't have any questions at this time, Angela.
Okay. I think we did a good job then, very thorough in providing the information. Well, I'll throw it out to the panel. Does anybody have anything that has crossed your mind since we began that we would want to follow up with or add to? Anything here?
I did want to add that some of you may know it came up at the beginning of this semester with the new registration system, that students, especially students who are using their phone to look at their schedule, were not seeing all of the meeting types and times for their classes, especially in blended courses that have multiple meeting types. We have addressed that and put a fix in place. So if a student does pull up their class to view the meeting time and type information, they will now see all of the meeting types. So there was some confusion, especially with blended courses. It may look like it was only online, but now that is no longer the case. So I just wanted to share that with any of you who may have heard about that from students.
All right, thank you, Shannon.
Questions. Great to hear about the transfer equivalency degree works. Curious how combined courses will be handled, since these are not as easy to determine on the transfer equivalency website and are typically done at the point of admission.
Good question. It's part of what we are still testing out. We're putting some of these test scenarios in and going through with admission to see how the equivalency guide picks some of this stuff up. So that is one of the items that we are still in the process of testing. But it should be able to pick up combinations. It's in the documentation that it does. So basically what this is doing is going out to the equivalency guide and banner and seeing what MSU has entered for these combinations and just treating it as if the student has actually transferred those courses in. So we are still testing that, but that is a good question.
Another question for you, Nathan. Can prospective students build and save, especially save, multiple audits with different majors and programs?
You can't save audits. It basically is regenerating a fresh audit each time you go there. So when you come back in for a later session, when you click on the audit tab, it's going to run a new audit then. So you can't save old ones, although you can save a PDF of it. And then in terms of having multiple programs of interest, you just have to go back to the first tab and change the major and minor that you want to display. You don't have to go through the whole rigmarole again. You can just go change those questions, go back directly to the audit and see the new audit. So it's really easy to change programs.
Okay, one more, Nathan. How will it handle courses that haven't been analyzed for equivalencies?
Good question. That is one of the things that we are still kind of working through in terms of figuring out who will be the best contact. In terms of if it's a school that we don't have on our equivalency guide, it's not going to be in there initially as a choice to select. You won't find that school or that course in the menu. So it's not a question of being able to enter something and get no result. You just won't be able to enter it. So part of what we're talking through in those next steps is what is the way for a student to communicate that they have coursework that they would like to see added to that. And we've got different ideas in mind, from establishing some sort of email address that a student can submit a request to, or something along those lines. So it's a good question, something that we're still working through.
Okay. And Shannon, can you just let everybody know where your videos can be found?
Yes, so you can get to them multiple ways. They are on this PowerPoint presentation. So when we post that, you'll be able to get to them there. They're on our website. They're actually under student resources on our website, and there's a how-to videos link, and you'll see them there. And then you can also just go to YouTube. The Office of the Registrar has a channel, so you can just search for us in our channel and subscribe if you want. We don't have a lot out there, but we are kind of getting back into the video making game. So there may be more that appear out there over the coming months. Yeah, so those are the kind of 3 ways that you could find those.
And one last question. What about when it comes up as an anonymous user, since you are student, staff, and sometimes faculty?
Yes, so that message will come up sometimes. Anonymous user is basically just someone from the public. So anonymous users can access the class schedule search and the catalog search links if they are able to find those, which they are on our main Missouri State website, not just on My Missouri State. If you happen to be someone who is both faculty and a student, or advisor and a student, and you are on the teaching and advising tab and click to view the class schedule and then try to navigate somewhere else within the system, you may get a message that says you're currently anonymous. You have to use a different role to view this link, and that's what that means.
Okay, thank you. That was the last question posted.
Okay, I have started sharing the slide presentation again with just some contact information. If you want to know how to reach out to us, it's got our email, our website, and our Twitter on there as well. So this brings our 2022 Registrar Annual Meeting to a close. I would like to thank all of the panelists for all of your help. This has been some really great information. I would like to thank all of you who've attended and asked questions. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. We really do appreciate it. Wanted to say one last time that the recording of this webinar will be available soon on the Office of the Registrar website, faculty and staff resources, under training materials and tools that you can use. So if you're interested, you can check there. If you have trouble finding it, just send us an email at registrar@Missouri State University. So thank you all so much. I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and we'll sign off for today. Thanks.